Hi everyone, it's Noreen O'Connor here, CND Education Ambassador, and in today's video I'm going to share a long-awaited comparison between the new CND Shellac Luxe colours and what we've already got from our classic collection. The first exclusive shade I'm going to show you is called Chandelier, so the exclusive shade is at the bottom of the screen and all of the original collection is at the top of the screen. The first colour I would compare it to is Chiffon Twirl. Chiffon Twirl is now a discontinued shade, but you can see it is the closest to Chandelier that I had in my collection. Chiffon Twirl is definitely a little bit paler than it, but Chandelier is a beautiful alternative. So if you really love this shade or if you missed out on it, Chandelier is a great alternative. The next colour I would compare it to is Safety Pin. Safety Pin is that beautiful pale champagne shade, so you can see compared to Chandelier, they're really very different. Safety Pin is very pale, whereas Chandelier is very warm. If you compare it to another warm colour, this one is called Sugared Spice. You can see Chandelier is so much more metallic than it. It's like taken all of the metallicness that Chiffon Twirl and Safety Pin has, but it's just got that lovely warmth that Sugared Spice has as well. And the last one I thought I would compare it to is Untitled Bronze. So Untitled Bronze is actually a good bit pinker than it, and you've got like that chunkier glitter and the finer glitter running through it, whereas Chandelier I think is just that little bit classier looking. It's got that really fine milled sparkle to it. It's not too gaudy or in your face. So that's the first colour all compared. On to the second one. This second one is the first one I actually tried on immediately, and it's called Grace. I actually found it quite hard to capture the different nuances between them, so please bear with me. I know they all look very similar, but as we know, in real life these do have very subtle differences that clients find really important. The first colour that I would think it would be closest to here is Copper Joe. So they both have that lovely warm, almost brownish base to them, but you can see the difference between Grace and Copper Joe is actually quite big. The next colour here is actually Dark Lava, and Dark Lava normally has quite a metallic finish to it, but as you can see compared to Grace, it's very subtle. Grace definitely has a high shine metallic finish to it. Those sparkles really show off, whereas Dark Lava, you can see in comparison, it's actually quite subtle. The next colour we've got here is Plum Paisley. This colour is a complete cream finish. You've got no sparkles or metallicness at all in it, and you can see that the difference is there's a lot more red in Plum Paisley than there is in Grace. The next colour we've got here is Fedora, and Fedora is a very brown based plum, and you can really see the difference. It's a good bit darker than Grace. Again, it's got that lovely cream finish, and you can tell there's a lot more red in Fedora and even in this next one, Berry Boudoir, than there is in Grace. And again, these have got that complete cream finish, whereas Grace is lovely and metallic. On to the next one. So here we've got Aora. It's a beautiful pale colour with absolutely no shimmer. You've got that cream finish again on it. Here I've compared it first to Mauve Maverick, and next to Blush Teddy. You can see these two pinks are a lot warmer and a lot darker. They also have a subtle shimmer, whereas Aora is a complete cream finish. The next one is pretty close to it, so this one is Candied from the collection that just launched in spring. You can see it's a little bit darker than it. Aora is that beautiful pale almost white shade, and next we've got it compared to Cake Pop. So you can see it's even paler than Cake Pop, but they've both got that similar cool toned pink to them. And the last one we've compared it to is Winter Glow. So I have to say these last three pinks are normally quite difficult to paint with, whereas Aora paints like a dream. So if you really like these colours, this could be a good one to add to your collection. So if you've been waiting for another few grey shades to add to your collection, I think you are going to love the next three exclusive shades. So I've just lined them all up here so you can see where they sit within the current collection. So working from left to right, we have Cityscape, Mystic Slate, New Look shade Whisper, New Look shade Silhouette, Asphalt, New Look shade Phantom, and then at the very end, Blackpool. So we're just going to compare these side by side so you can see what they're like next to each other. The first exclusive shade I've taken out is Whisper. So you can see Whisper has quite a bluish undertone to it, and it's still got that beautiful cream finish, so it's going to make it perfect for any nail art designs. But you can see it's really not that similar to anything in the collection. I've now taken out the one that was beside it called Silhouette. So you can see Silhouette is that lovely cool toned grey. It doesn't have as much blue as Whisper, but again it's still not like anything in the collection, it's quite unique. And the last one I've compared it to is Phantom, so I'm just holding it out over Blackpool, so you can see it's actually a very warm toned grey, like there's even just a little touch of brown in it. It's so beautiful on, and it's not like anything as well, which is great. Moving on to the next shade, I think this one is called Boheme. I'm going out on a limb here, I was calling it Boheme for a long while, but I actually think the correct pronunciation is Boheme. So I'm just going to compare it here to some of our existing nudes. The first shade here I've compared it to is Satin Pyjamas. So you can see that Boheme is a lot darker and warmer than Satin Pyjamas. The second colour I've compared it to here is Unmasked. So you can see it's a lot paler unmasked than Boheme, and it's got more of a beigey tone, where Boheme is definitely that warmer, browner tone. If you compare it next to Unlocked, this is definitely one of the most popular nudes in my salon. You can see they're really different. I think Boheme is really going to suit that darker skin toned client, whereas it might not suit paler people like myself. The next one I've compared it to here is Field Fox. So even though Field Fox has a little bit of brown in it, you can see it's a very, very different tone. And the last one I have compared it to here is Bear Chemise. So you can see it's still got that little bit of a warm tone to it, but just not half as warm as Boheme. So it's nice to have a new nude, particularly if you've got darker skin tone clients that are struggling to find the perfect match for them. I think this could be the one for you. The next exclusive shade I've got to show you is called Satin Slippers. This is a beautiful pale shade again, and is unlike anything really in the current collection. It is a totally cream finish to it, there's no shimmer at all, and it's a beautiful, very pale pink again. So I'm just going to show you up against Powder My Nose. So you can see Powder My Nose is that semi-sheer shade, whereas Satin Slippers is very opaque. You've also got the difference in tone. Satin Slippers is very pink based, whereas Powder My Nose is very warm and beige based. The next colour I would compare it to is Cashmere Wrap. So you can see it's quite close to Cashmere Wrap. Cashmere Wrap is a little bit more flesh toned, whereas I do think Satin Slippers is a little bit more pink based, and it's also a lighter shade to Cashmere Wrap, but I thought they were pretty close and worth a comparison. The next shade I would compare it to is Strawberry Smoothie. I do think it's the closest in colour to Strawberry Smoothie, but it just has a completely different finish. Strawberry Smoothie is very pearlised, very metallic, whereas Satin Slippers is a very cream-based colour. I've got it compared here now next to Uncovered. You can see Uncovered looks quite peach against it. And the next one is Naked Naivety I've compared it to. So Naked Naivety is a good bit paler than it, and I would say also a touch more peachy than it, while Satin Slippers is retaining that pinkness, and the last one I've compared it to is Romantique. So I hope this helps you to compare this shade. I do think it's going to be a popular one, particularly for clients who love that pale shade against a tan. The next exclusive shade I have for you is called Temptation. Temptation is a beautiful cream toned, red based, deep dark purple. So I'm going to compare it to you against some of the classic purple shades that we have at the moment. This first one is Alluring Amethyst. You can see it's very different. Alluring Amethyst is very pale, you've got all of that sparkle in it, so they're just two completely different purples. The next one is called Video Violet I'm comparing it to. So Video Violet looks far more blue, so you can see the difference in the purple. Video Violet is a blue based purple, whereas you can see underneath you've got a lot more red mixed in there to give that deeper, darker, more plummy kind of a purple. The next shade I would compare it to is Purple Purple. This is coming up quite blue on camera, but if you've ever tried to photograph this colour, you know it is purple with blue shimmer, and it's the blue shimmer that tends to show up. So this is a little bit more comparable in real life, but I still said I'd show it to you on camera anyway. The next shade I would compare it to is a discontinued shade, but I thought I'd show it just in case any of you still have it in your collection. The next shade is called Grape Gum. You can see Grape Gum does have a little bit of red to it. It's definitely more red than the previous shades, but it just doesn't have that depth of colour that Temptation does. This is a really beautiful shade, and the last one that I would compare it to is called Eternal Midnight. So these do look a little bit similar in real life, but they have very different finishes. So they've got that same lovely red based purpley tone to them, but Eternal Midnight has that blue shimmer that goes through it. It doesn't photograph quite as blue as Purple does, but they are the same undertone, just Temptation has a beautiful cream finish to it, whereas Eternal Midnight has that beautiful blue shimmer going through it. So if you and your clients are into your purples, this could be a lovely shade for you. The next exclusive shade I have for you here is called Charm. When we first did our training, this was the colour that everybody gravitated towards. I think it is the perfect summer shade, so I'm just going to compare it to some of the popular classic shades that we already have so you can see what it's like. I'm just showing you first against Hot Pop Pink, because this is one of those in-betweeny shades where it's not quite pink and it's not quite peach. I'm showing you now next against Pink Bikini, so you can see compared to a pink, it doesn't quite look pink, but it's not quite orange enough yet next. So the next one is probably the closest in the collection, so this is compared to Tropics. So you can see compared Tropics is a little bit paler than it, which is surprising because Tropics normally has a reputation of being that nice vibrant colour, but Charm just beats it that little bit. It's definitely more vibrant in real life and it is really beautiful. I decided to show you next against Desert Poppy because it's kind of that in-betweeny shade of pink and orange. So you can see compared to Desert Poppy, it definitely looks a little bit pinker compared to the more orange tones. And I just thought I would show you it against Mambo Beat, which is the next one. Mambo Beat has a little bit more orange and a little bit more red mixed into it. So you can see it's definitely a good bit brighter than Mambo Beat. And the last shade in the collection that I thought I would compare it to is Lobster Roll. So you can see Lobster Roll is a good bit more red than it, and Lobster Roll is more muted, whereas Charm has that lovely vibrant finish to it. The next exclusive shade we've got here is Liberté. So I'm going to compare it against some of the existing reds in the collection so you can see what it's like. The first obvious comparison would be against Wildfire, so you can see that they are quite similar. However, Liberté is a tiny little bit darker than it, and it just has a little bit more of a glossy finish in my opinion. The next one I thought I would compare it to would be Hollywood. So Hollywood has that very subtle gold sparkle that goes through it, whereas Liberté is a very cream finish, which is what gives it that really nice gloss. The next one I would compare it to would be Tartan Punk. So you can see it's got the same kind of tone as Tartan Punk, but Tartan Punk is got a very metallic finish, whereas Liberté definitely has more of that smooth glossy creme finish. And the last one I thought I'd compare it to is Decadence. Decadence has that semi-sheer translucency to it, whereas Liberté is nice and opaque, and you can see that Decadence is just that little bit darker and a little bit more raspberry, whereas Liberté is that true crimson pillar box red. The next exclusive shade I have for you is Black Cherry. So Black Cherry again is that little bit difficult to capture its true essence on camera, but I'm going to try my best to describe it. It is definitely the deepest, darkest plum out of all of the shades that we currently have. The main difference I would say is that most of the plums that we have are quite blue based, they're quite purpley, whereas actually this one is like a very, very deep reddish plum. So I'm just going to compare it against some of the classic shades that we have here. The first shade we have here is Plum Paisley, and the one beside it is Dark Dahlia. So these two shades both have a gorgeous deep bluey purpley plum shade to them, whereas Black Cherry, even though it looks very black on screen, if you look at it closely it's a very, very dark reddish plum. The one beside it we've got here is Dark Lava, so you can see it's a good bit darker than Dark Lava, and again Dark Lava has that metallic finish whereas this one doesn't. I would say the closest shade is probably Berry Boudoir, but Berry Boudoir is much lighter than it, but you can see it's got that little bit more of a reddish undertone to it. And then the last shade we have here is Fedora. So you can see even though Fedora is that really lovely dark brownish colour, the Black Cherry is just deeper, richer and slightly more red. So here we've got two more exclusive shades. I'm just going to talk you through them from left to right again. So the very first shade that you're going to see on the screen is from the classic collection and is Tinted Love. The one beside it is an exclusive Luxe shade called Viviant. The one beside that is Tango Passion. Then we have Magenta Mischief. We have Ecstasy. Then we have the new Luxe shade called Brazen. And the one beside it is Lilac Eclipse. So you can see these group of shades are really popular with a lot of clients, particularly business women or people that have to be quite conservative with their nails. So I think this is going to be a great option for a lot of ladies in the salon. I'm just going to compare them now to some of our existing shades side by side. The shade that you now see on the bottom of the screen is called Brazen. So you can see, comparing it to Lilac Eclipse, it's a lot more pinker in tone, yet if you compare it to something like Ecstasy, you can see it's far more muted and far more wearable. So I'm showing you here against Magenta Mischief. The next one I would compare it to would be Tango Passion. You can see Tango Passion has that slight metallic finish, whereas Brazen has that beautiful creme finish. Just to show you Viviant and Brazen next to each other, they've both got that beautiful cream finish, and I just thought I'd show it to you against Tinted Love because I thought this shade was going to be quite close to it, but when you see them side by side, they're actually quite different. The shade that you now see on the bottom of the screen is called Viviant. The closest shade to it I would definitely say is Tango Passion. Tango Passion has that metallic finish to it, whereas Viviant has that beautiful creme finish to it. You can see if you compare it to Magenta Mischief that it has a little bit of a pink tone to it, but it's still much more muted. I thought I would compare it here next to Tinted Love. You can see that Tinted Love is a lot more red than it. And Tinted Love is super popular with my clients all year round, and I have a sneaky feeling that Viviant is going to be also. And I just thought I'd show it to you now against Oxblood. You can see Oxblood is a good bit darker and a good bit redder than it. And the very last exclusive Luxe shade that I have for you today is called Femme Fatale. So Femme Fatale is a beautiful raspberry toned muted pink. It is so wearable and so beautiful on, so I've decided to show it to you against some pinks and some reds so you can see where it kind of fits into the colour family. The first shade I have it compared to here is Hot Pop Pink, so you can see it isn't quite a vibrant pink. Next we've got Pink Bikini, so again you can see it's very different to anything that we've currently got in the collection. There's definitely a little bit more red to it and it's a bit of a deeper tone. The next shade I've compared it to is Ecstasy, so you can see it's very different again. Ecstasy has that neon sheen, whereas Femme Fatale is that beautiful creme finish. I've got it compared now next to Wildfire, so you can see it's not a red and it's not a bright pink, it's that somewhere in between. The next shade I have it compared to is Hollywood, so you can't see the shimmer here at the moment, but again that's the difference between them. And the last one I have compared it to is Tinted Love. So I hope that's really helped you guys. Let me know what your favourite is down below and if you'll be purchasing any, and I'll speak to you all soon. Thanks for watching.